Where?
that I am duly qualified,
Duly qualified.
according to the Constitution
Constitution
of the state,
of the state.
to exercise the duties
Exercise the duties
of the office to which
of the office to which
I have been appointed,
I have been appointed.
and that I will,
And that I will,
to the best of my ability,
best of my ability,
discharge the duties thereof,
discharge the duties thereof,
and preserve, protect, and defend
and preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution of this state
the Constitution of the state
and of the United States.
and of the United States.
So help me God.
Thank God.
Thank you.
So now our first application comes from 200 Boone Drive.
Which app do you want to open?
Oh,
Sorry, I
neither.
don't understand.
Sorry, everybody.
She didn't get a vote.
It's too late, yes. Would you like to speak on behalf of the tree, the property? We've all seen it.
Yeah.
And had some discussion over it. The biggest concern that I recall is that large limbs can, when dead or not, can fall and are a problem, particularly for your neighbor, as well as the driveway of your neighbor. There is evidence of disruption in the driveway of your neighbor's house, that's for sure. It's hard to be sure whether or not it's from the tree. It's a likely candidate. I think it needs to be examined before a decision is made on that basis. Any thoughts otherwise, by?
No, I think you've covered it. The concrete in the neighbor's driveway looks old. The active life of concrete, it's about 35 years or so. And that crack occurs right at an expansion joint and at the edge of the driveway. So I can't say for sure without seeing an offending root that a root is the cause of that driveway breaking that way. It may well be, as you say, but there's nothing to prove that to me. It could be just concrete wear and the edge of the pavement. As I look at the pine tree, I looked really hard, as did everyone else I know, but I looked with binoculars looking for some sort of structural defect, something that would lead me to believe that the structure, that the tree posed some sort of risk. And I declare, I just don't see it. It's an older tree. It's a mature tree. It is, as with the species, as with pine trees, and I'm sure it's dropping limbs from time to time, but I think that some routine maintenance could take care of that. And so I don't see a real reason to remove that tree.
Anybody else? Discussion, thoughts?
I feel the same way as Mr. Burbidge. The tree looks to be in good shape, and I don't see any structural issues that really bring any attention to removing it. As far as the driveway, I think you just have to do some more digging just to kind of see if there are some roots down there that are affecting the cracks and the stability of the driveway. And you have to go down pretty good to find some of those, but I'd feel more comfortable, trying to say whether the roots are actually causing damage without those roots being exposed, so we can see what's going on down there.
And if,
You guys hear me okay?
yeah,
I don't have to go that thing, but- Okay, and yeah, we agree. Would it be helpful, or would it make a difference if we were to dig up and show where a root was under there and causing the damage to the driveway?
yes, that's basically what we're asking. I think that would be best to do, ascertain whether or not there's a real problem. And beyond that, that if there's a large root there, it's far enough from the bole of the tree that it probably could be successively pruned and not be a problem in the future. Again, the tree is not that young, and it's not likely to spawn new roots to newly crack the repaired sidewalk or repaired driveway. But yeah, that would be the most advantageous thing, yes. And if,
Yeah, there are 19 trees in this yard, and for whatever reason, this tree sheds branches disproportionate to everything else. I don't know why, but I look like a cartoon character out there with a weight on the end of a rope, and I'm trying to lasso these things, because they break, but they don't fall, and they're out there, flapping in the breeze, and I try to pull them off, but I end up just running from the weight I'm throwing up there. So that is my concern. We do pay to have this thing approved, but it really,
5 years.
yeah, but
Oh.
it's tough to stay up with.
I understand.
And so, I mean, we'll continue to try to do that, and we can continue to look, as you guys say, to dig up, and if the root, you know, if we can cut it and it doesn't do further damage to our neighbors. But, you know, this tree, this is it's the one that sticks out, you know, for all these reasons, that's all. So,
Okay.
we understand you always do.
When it comes to the point of exposing the root, you might consult with Justin, our arborist, about, you know, the most appropriate way to approach that.
Yes, sir. All right,
All right. Thank you, sir.
hey, appreciate y'all's consideration.
All right,
Good deal.
thank you.
Could I have a motion? Or do you have more to say?
Well, do we want to move to deny this removal, or do we want to defer it until the root is removed?
Okay,
Until the root is exposed, excuse me.
right, all right.
So if that's the way we want to go, then I move to defer vote on this particular tree until we see the exposed rooting and determine whether or not it can be, that it's causing the damage to the concrete driveway.
I second it. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Uh,
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you again. Can't believe that phone did that. I'm kidding.
yeah, our best friend, right?
I didn't do anything with pulling that. I wouldn't think. The next item is I forget the name of the establishment. We all know the address. Well, go ahead.
We're referring to this as Old Light Apartments. My
Okay.
name is John Dangerfield. I'm with Dangerfield Engineering and Surveying. I've also got Matt Coggins. He's with Dangerfield as well. And then Jessica Wise, she's the landscape architect on the project. So here to address any concerns y'all have. Just to give you a little bit of background, there's been a lot of thought that went into the site. The site's located right at the corner of Holiday Drive and Old Light Road. And I don't know if, Justin, if you had a chance to provide them with the options. We've looked at, this is about the 10th reiteration of the site that we've gone through.
You got that.
Um, You got those. The site itself, we're having 352 units. As you're aware, the town of Somerville only has a parking requirement of 1 bedroom per unit, which we found that is not acceptable for any type of development of this nature. We've got 6 other multifamily developments we've done in the Low Country, and they're ranging from 1.6 units to 1.78 units per bedroom. We have met with the DRB. We've tried to address their concerns. Right now, we're at 1.32 units, 32 spaces per unit, which is the bare minimum we can do and still get capital investment.
What was the number?
1.32.
Okay.
And some of the concerns when we met with DRB, if you look at the original plan, they wanted a more central amenity space. They wanted an increased green space with saved cluster trees, reduced long linear road networks, screening of dumpsters, screening of the sanitary sewers pump station, the breakup of the storm drainage detention, and introduce walking paths. So this got us to where we felt like we addressed the bulk of the comments from the DRB. One of the biggest concerns has been saving clusters of trees. This is I think y'all been by the site. I think Justin went by there. If you've been by there, it was one of the old merchantable timber tracks. It's already been thinned. Predominantly what's left is loblolly palm trees, and they're in that 16 to 20 inch. I actually went out there and measured all of them myself. We had Natural Deduction, Mike Russell and Natural Directions went out and graded all the grand trees. You'll see there is, when they last thinned it, you have a lot of multi-stem maples, gum trees that are left in there. And in the report, it was the D's and C's he recommended to be removed. Those would be all the red and orange trees on the site. What we now have is predominantly loblolly pines that are what we're trying, the grand trees that we're trying to remove. We looked at doing one of the first reiterations we did looked at more of a park-like setting in the central. If you look at the way the roads are set up, you got Holiday Drive kind of is to the north, and then Old Lights to the south. Those elevations on there are around, if you look at the centerline elevations down the road, they're give or take 83 to 83.4. There's a slight berm around Old Light Road. The central portion of this site is down around to 81, 82. We do not want to build the finished floor of these buildings below the roads because it's going to essentially be in a low area if we have a hurricane effect. So we always typically, what we're looking at is the finished floor of these buildings to be 83 and a half. So when you build these buildings up to 83 and a half, now we're trying to save pockets. We went around the perimeter of the site and saved a good many trees around the perimeter. It allows us to grade off. It still has the ditch. So I know that's an easy thing to say, well, he's just saving the perimeter trees. Those trees do have larger limb structure, larger canopies. We felt that they're the better trees and we can grade that area to produce positive drainage. We met with Justin and Becca last week, and we started trying to come up with some options of what we could potentially do to save the trees between it's building number 5 and the pool. And I apologize, I didn't have more of these. I just had a hand drawing it.
John, they have those plans.
Do they have this?
They do,
All right,
yes.
this is the one that looks, if you look at it, this is, looking at the screen, here's the pool and here's building 5. We were trying to see what we could do to save these trees. When you have the buildings up 83 and a half, we're trying to reduce the amount of retaining walls. We didn't want to have just a tree well effect.
Yeah.
So we're trying to grade around it, but these trees will be 2 feet lower. If you look at where the detention pond is going to have storm drainage interconnected to it. I can let you know, even though we can grid it to grade, there's still low areas. If you get above a 10-year storm, those areas are going to, it's going to actually be part of the stormwater storage volume. And what we're nervous about is you have the high volume of traffic, pedestrian traffic. We want to introduce green space, but then it's a lower area. We're worried about the usability of that area. So we could save some of the trees, and then down at the southern entry, I think that would be a good spot to save the tree because we can grade it where that stormwater can drain off and not prevent a low area. But I just wanted to kind of point out the options, how we came through it. It's not just something that we came through and said, hey, this is where we want to go. We started with the original option, which we knew had some revisions that needed to be made to correct the long linear road networks. It shortened those up. We placed the sanitary sewer in the dumpster over in the southeast corner, where it's away from the internal portion of it. We got the milk kiosk. We separated the stormwater system so that you really are treating everything from the condo units in a southern direction through that lower stormwater system. And we've met with Justin and Becca. We've actually done a redesign on this stormwater management area. There's about 4 or 5 good grand trees. We reshaped that lower stormwater management to save those trees in that area. We've also looked at some of the tree islands. We're just again, any of those trees in the central portion of it, they're going to be, the natural grade will be about 2 feet lower than that perimeter grade.
Is it possible to incorporate a stormwater catch basin into that low area and feed it into the system that you'll have running underneath the parking spaces or the parking lot? That'll take that water from that low space in the middle to the stormwater management area.
Yes,
Well,
it'll
that's
actually, what will end up happening is that'll almost be like a little bioretention area.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to be designed at it with like a separate filter below it, but it will be interconnected. So it's going to be connected to the stormwater management area. But since it's connected, as we all know, once stormwater comes up, it drains, it also can charge that system as well. So that lower area, once you get from that 81, the top of our ponds will be about 83. So you will have that area on the larger events, not all events, but you get above a 10-year storm, you get into something that's 6 inches or better of a rain event, that area will surcharge. So yes, it'll actually become part of our storage area.
that area that you're describing is the area between the pool, that's the common area, is that correct?
Yeah, so what I'm describing is anywhere, to be honest with you, anywhere you save the trees internal to the site because of the grade differential.
Right, what I was driving at was, that large area in the, between the pool and there, that's gonna be low. Is it possible to, as part of your landscape plan, to plant that with, water tolerant trees?
Yeah, I'm a 90-degree civil engineer.
That's all right.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So part of what we were trying to achieve with that center area was make it usable for all the residents. We have the fire pit area, the dog pit area, the pool, all that kind of stuff in there. 4-story buildings to the center of the site to keep it away from the outskirts of the site, to be respectful of the community and the neighbors. So we were really trying to use that area, not as a retention, as a depression area, but if we have to save the trees, obviously, yes, that's what it will be. But if we can kind of keep that at the same level as the pool area and make it more of an active space, we would like to do that. We can make the sidewalk a little more curvilinear. We can plant it with some trees. Perhaps it's an area where we can, put string lights somewhere where like the residents can come out and they can enjoy that space rather than it be more of a detention area. So that was the design idea, but to answer your question, yes, we can plant it with trees that will.
Well, I mean, is there not a way to, what we're gonna ask you to do, and I don't mind tipping our hand a little bit here, is we're gonna ask you to be creative here.
Mhm.
Cause what, for as many iterations as you have made, and that's appreciated. I mean, we truly do appreciate that you're trying to do everything you can. But that's just a difficult site, as I'm sure you know. And we would like for you to get really creative and see if we can't save some more trees. The euphemistic way to say it is to sharpen your pencil. That's what we would really like to do. And so I wonder if you get creative, if you can't accomplish both goals in that central area to plant it with some water tolerant trees, but also make it inviting to the residents.
Okay.
I mean, I just, with benches or whatever, I think you could probably do that. And also that strip, is it along Holiday, the strip that you've saved? Is that correct?
Yes.
Right.
If you want to think, and I'm not suggesting that you have to do it, but that's just, that looks like a perimeter planting. It looks like a buffer to me. If you want to double the width of that but reduce the length of it, if there's a way to do that and accomplish your goals from a landscape perspective, we might be willing to entertain that so that we have more tree save area, an area with more trees and more soil to receive rainwater. And I also question the trees that you have tried very hard to save in the interior, moving, getting rid of the islands and all that again, which is very much appreciated. I wonder just how well they're going to do
Yes,
with
sir.
this change in grade.
We had the same concern.
That's one of our main concerns. I'll be quite frank with you. These are all pine trees and I grow pine trees. I harvest them. Right now I'm growing 4th generation live lollies. I'm harvesting in less than 15 years. I'm growing this same size tree now. In 15 years, I can grow that same size tree. I'm doing it. And from a husky pencil, I've got 1-year-old trees that are this big, and that's what the DRB wants: active open space. They
Yes.
want areas that you can use. These are between the pools and the buildings. We're having to mitigate a lot. And I mean, we're coming in, you're starting off with a 5-year-old tree. So I mean, in a matter of 8 to 10 years, you're going to have a 16-inch diameter pine tree that's adapted to that space rather than forcing it into an area that's going to be graded around it. I mean, this is the lower area. I mean, this is low country. This is the lower area. We can't build the building pads that low. I'm just going to be quite frank with you I manage timber. That's what I see. I mean, I'm trying to, if this isn't a a 40-inch live oak or a 20-inch live oak, or, you know, hardwood trees that take a while. My personal opinion is, but I'm not a landscape architect, I feel like I'm trying to force the savings of these trees when I can plant something and in a matter of 10 years, it's going to be a great tree. When you start a tree from young growth, it's going to have stems all the way up it. These are, you know, 80-foot tall trees with a 20% crown on it. If I cut that, everything around those and then left that one grouping of trees, it's not going to make it.
Right. Well, we haven't seen your landscape plan, so we don't know what you're proposing.
And
Yes.
that's, I mean, I'm down defending Jessica. She didn't have much time. We were going through the DRB. We were trying to address all their concerns. She did not have the appropriate time to do it. And we're here, we have a lot of mitigation. We'd like your input. We can really, with the amount of mitigation and planning that we have to do on this site, I think we can provide a really good product. And that's what
So
Jessica's here to talk about.
yeah, I think really quick, I can run through what the proposed landscape plan is. I know you haven't seen it, but looking at the site, again, from that busy intersection where the roundabout is, that's where the massive stormwater pond has to be, just the way the site lays out. So what we've tried to do is push the site and the buildings back interior so that you get from that corner a really nice park-like setting, a park-like view. We've got a sidewalk or a path that walks around that pond. There's a lot of trees that we're trying to save there. You'll notice that a lot of those trees are blue, which is the B grade, which is the best grade that's on that site. And as you probably know, the trees that are on the perimeter of the site naturally have the best root structure. They have the best crowns because they've been on the edge of the site. And so they've taken that wind, you know, they've taken that beating and established a little better than maybe the trees that are on an interior of a site. So that's that corner. And that is actually where we plan to put a lot of the mitigation trees as well as interior of the site. But that gives you that park-like setting that I think everybody's looking for with that walking path that's on that major street corner. If you move to the bottom of the site where the townhomes are, across the street from that is single-family residences. There's already that neighborhood there. So you get that lower building product. There will be a buffer in between that runs kind of where the, where the hand is going back and forth. And then again, on the right, we have that stormwater management area that's smaller. We've reshaped that pond a bit, again, to save some of those trees that are in blue. So that's that highest grade on the site tree. And then as you move interior to the site, as I kind of hinted to earlier, is the taller, more multifamily, the more structured portion of the site that has that active amenity space, that has that area that we're trying to make usable for the residents. So you come in there, you have the structure, you have the fire pit, the pool, the dog park, all of that. Again, we can meander the sidewalks. We can make it more of a pleasant area with walking paths, sidewalks, you know, areas for shade, string lights, that sort of thing. But we were seeing the site as more park-like on the left-hand side and more maybe, and I don't want to say city structure, that's not the right word, but a little bit more structured with the landscape and the trees. And we are concerned with the amount of construction that's going to have to go there. It's going to be surrounded in parking, the foundations for those multifamily buildings, and what kind of effect that's going to have on those existing trees if we try to save them in that particular area. As far as plant material, I've gone through the city's the town's ordinance, and I've got a lot of canopy trees. I've got a lot of evergreen trees. I've got some accent trees, of course, evergreen shrubs. But I think we can make a really nice park and structured like setting with the site plan and incorporating all the plant material that is going to go into this.
Any idea how many canopy trees we're talking about? I know you haven't done the plan.
I haven't done the calculations for mitigation yet, but I can tell you that there are 352 total trees and 294 of those are pine trees. 244 of those are that 16 plus. We've got 39D and 10F. So right there, that's 49 trees that if we're going with the arborist recommendation, he recommends taking out anyways, just because some of those are dead, decaying, dying, kind of a hazard to the site. And again, we're really trying to save all of the blue, and I believe yellow is the C. So the blue and the yellow are the two that are really what the arborist has identified as good trees.
So that's helpful. What in your vision of the final product, what's an approximation of how many canopy trees would be installed, new trees would be installed? Just ballpark it.
I really have not.
I promise, we won't go after your paycheck.
Oh, no. Well, just in the, okay, so the required buffer alone, so on the northern side, there's the multifamily that's existing. So that requires a pretty thick buffer. So I'd like to use canopy and evergreen trees to make sure that's really good screening up in that area. And so that alone is, okay, actually I did have some calculations on here. Okay. So trees required up in that top buffer area are 48. So we'll have 48 at least up there. We'll have 19 along the right-hand side. On the bottom, we'll have 47 at least. That's between where the stormwater pond is to where that, yep, the edge of the townhomes are. And then on the top left, we'll have at least 16 from that top corner down to where that pond starts. And then I don't think there's a required buffer around that stormwater management area, but that again is where we want to put a lot of those mitigation trees. So that's just the required trees, not counting the parking lot trees and not counting the mitigation trees.
50 parking lot trees, and you're talking about the.
So that in addition to, yep. And then the mitigation trees.
What kind of space is allowed for the parking lot trees? Square footage?
The minimum landscape area?
So it's a 60-foot radius. Basically, every parking spot has to be covered by a 60-foot radius out from a planted parking lot.
Depending on where the alignment is 11 to 12 spaces.
Okay, okay.
About 11, every 11 to 12 spaces where the not where it's
And
Can we circle back to this? Everybody keeps calling the center area a park area. But we're really only talking about 40 to 60 feet from the sidewalk to the pool deck, to the edge of the pool deck, which is a pretty small area. And I wonder, I just look at the site and I think we're all kind of beating around the bush here. I look at the site and I see as many units as you can possibly fit on the site, which I understand from a business perspective. But if we're going to call something an open space or a park area, I think that we would have to talk about less units in that area to create more of an open space, more of a usable space for the residents. And in doing that, I understand that the grading would be a significant challenge for the survival of the trees. I totally understand what you're saying. But we keep throwing around this idea of a park and an open space. And I see a very small, limited amount of space there that we're calling a park and open space. I don't know.
And just to address that a little bit for you, option 2 is, that's really what we heard from the staff members, is one of our first options we looked at. I don't know if y'all have the different options. We really tried to open this up as much as we could. When you start opening up that central area, we had a layout where we had an amenity. Our amenity building was originally along
Holiday
Holiday
Drive.
Drive. We had more of a central parking area. The DRB did not like the central parking area. We're really trying to achieve more of what you're saying, a true park-like setting in the center. And we removed some of this parking out. The unit count went down and our parking ratio was 1 space per unit. I can tell you, our investors took that. They couldn't get it to work. And I'll be honest with you, that's where we're at. If it came back and said, well, and I understand how it works. You can say, well, reduce your units. Unfortunately, we have a sanitary, the way the gravity sanitary sewer here, we don't have the depth. So we have a utility grade pump station. We have a lot of obstacles just in the design. I know that's not y'all's concern. Just pointing out some things that have looked at the site. We tried to open that up, the reduction in units, and then the parking ratio. We're already at 1 space per unit, so we'd have to reduce the units even further. We can't make it work, is where it comes down to. And that was one option we looked at. And that's what we looked at, different areas and different ways of trying to set this site up. And we felt like this met the bulk of the DRB concerns, agreed that this did not meet the central part. Once you open that green space up, right now we're at 40%. There's a required green space of 10%. We're at 40, believe it or not. If you look at that plan on here is a 10% minimum. We're at 40%.
Does that include the stormwater management areas?
That does include the storm. Without the stormwater management area, that's 30%. So if you exclude the stormwater management areas, we're at 30%. With the stormwater management areas, we're at 40%. If you say, hey, look, we don't care about density, we don't care about, we can't make that product work. I don't think you can make that product work on this site with the obstacles you're getting.
When you say you can't make it, what, I mean, it's maybe a silly question. What does that specifically mean?
Economically wise, when you look at the performer for the product, it's not profitable.
But you're operating under the constraints of the owners, the investors, right? You're simply the engineer, you've been given a task, and so for you to suggest reducing a unit would not fly, not with you, but with someone who's standing to gain the profits from the property. Is that right?
I can't speak for somebody else could potentially do, yes, sir.
Okay, but I'm trying to understand this process because we don't deal with this principally.
Yes, sir, it's done for multifamily. When you take,
I know what it's zoned for, and I know you can, and I'm sure you've satisfied all the regulations and all the constraints. It's just that when we see these, it's as I guess Danny said earlier, it's just that here's a site that you can do this on, but it would be so much more of a pleasant site if it were mitigated to a less degree and a more degree and had more trees, had a central area. It's just that we're always coming from the point of having to see what we can squeeze out from something that's basically utilizing the entire site. I'm not sure I see the 30%, but I can't doubt what you're saying of open space. But anyhow, that's just my own personal thoughts. It's difficult for us to deal with this without having the thoughts that Nathaniel just brought up. Why not create a really nice looking space? And I understand the conflict involved in even proposing that.
yes, I just didn't want y'all to think that we turned a blind eye to that. We did look at a more open space. It's just the parking ratio we couldn't get where.
Yeah, that's a problem, isn't it?
I also wanted to ask the question, and I'm sure it's probably a money issue here, but taking some of the stormwater and putting it underground, like a vault or something like that, is that even any kind of possibility of something like that being looked at? Or is that, again, just something that's gonna be way out of line price-wise?
You can look at that, but it's not going to reduce your footprint from a tree saving standpoint because of the depth of that. When you look at underground detention, I think is what you're referring to.
Right, yeah.
So if you look at the invert of that ditch along Old Light Road and along Holiday Drive, we have looked at that. You've got about 4 feet of depth. You can go to an underground. What that would do is you could do underground potentially in the parking areas. You can try to replace some of that in the parking areas. Yes, you can. It's about $15 a cubic foot. I don't know whether that would work or not. But that's, you think about per a developed acre, you need approximately 12,000 cubic feet of storage capacity. So we have 13. So 12,000 times 13 times 15. You're talking about you're going to be several $1 million.
Okay.
And what our client would have provided, they were trying to make the detention more of an amenity type area. Now that'd be 1, 2, 3. You're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4. You'd save about 12 grand pine trees in that one area. Obviously there's other trees around that, but they gain that park setting. We made that suggestion and again, I don't think they can make it work.
Okay.
Well, notwithstanding trying to save all the older trees that, as you pointed out, and there's at least 2 career foresters with Westvaco on the board here today. So I thoroughly understand the option of starting anew, whether it's not with pine trees that are, a stick and all, but having new trees accommodate the site that they're planted in, rather than hoping that the ones that are already there will accommodate the changes that we're introducing to them. I thoroughly appreciate that concept. But that still requires space, so that's still the same issue, even if we got rid of the big trees and planted, another set of trees to ultimately have a better command of the site. It still requires space.
Yes, and that's one of the, we just got done doing a site on Johns Island. It was a 40-acre site. It's called the Hamlet. We were able to save a lot of clusters of trees because it wasn't more of what I call a managed tract. That's the unfortunate part about this.
Mhm.
It's a managed timber tract. So they're all, if you look at all the blues, it's not like they're evenly spaced. That's how they're evenly spaced and grown that way so that they can be harvested. And that's one of the biggest challenges when you get on a merchantable tract, because it's not like a cluster of pines right in this area right here. You might have 6 pine trees because they're all 20 feet apart. It's hard to say what I call your traditional cluster of trees. And then when you do look at them, they've been managed from a small tree. So it's not like these trees on the perimeter that have limbs all the way up the trees. These are all, they were grown as a cluster. They got thinned out. Now they're all equally spaced and they've got canopies at the very top, but they look like, if you go down 26, you can see we're trying to take a picture, but it's too foggy this morning. You can see them where they just look like these big mushroom tops out in the middle. And again, I'm not trying to make excuses. I've done a lot. I've been in the low country doing design for 25 years. And this as trying to save trees. This is a unique site because it's rare that you go into what I call a merchantable tract and you're trying to save clusters, because I don't see clusters. I see evenly spaced trees.
John, I know your reputation and I know what you've done in the past, and I know that you appreciate where we're coming from.
Absolutely.
I mean, I do. I understand that very well. But I wonder if your investors do, and your investors, I don't know where they're from, but your investors are looking to make, if this thing is successful, they're going to make a lot of money. And this is where we live. So we have a real concern about taking more than is necessary. We're, doing what's right to build apartments, that sort of thing. We understand the need for that. And as you and I were talking about earlier, and this incredibly ever increasing growing population that we have in the low country. But if we allow just site after site after site after site to be denuded of trees, then what the flooding will do, what will happen. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to ask that question of your investors. Are they willing to give up a unit, give up some space in order to save some sort of trees, and at the same time get creative with the design and trying to save more trees and come up with places to plant them as part of your mitigation, or just add them. So
We can definitely ask them that. And just to give you a little bit, it's Middleburg Communities is who we're working for. And to give you a little bit of information about them, the original guy I started with was 400 Meeting Street. That was done in 2006. The first multifamily I did with him was in 2012, was on Ingleside Boulevard. It's called Mosby Apartments. That won the Southeast multifamily. I don't get into the award thing, but it was a big thing. They do a high-end product. They did, if you look at Mosby Apartments, that was finished around 2018. They won all kind of Southeastern awards for what they do with their product. I mean, it's not what I call a second tier product. The Hamlet, and Maybank Highway is right off of Johns Island. It's a 40-acre, it's a multifamily slash college. But if you want to know who the developer is, it's Middleburg Communities. They aren't new to the low country. I've worked with them indirectly since 2006 and directly since 2014. They kind of formed around that 2012 years, the group I I knew, actually went to consider one of the project managers. So that's what, so I do know them, but again, I understand this isn't personal on me or y'all. I mean,
Right,
This is what we do. So I'm not taking this personally. I'm not getting upset. And we can definitely go back to them and express your concerns.
If you would, you know, and again, just to reiterate, and others may want to reiterate, that I would like for them to consider that this is where we live by choice, and we would like for them not to remove quite as many trees, and in the process, get creative with the designs and introduce some more into areas where perhaps they hadn't quite thought of yet. I do like the number of trees that you're proposing. That's a good number. So
Yes, sir, and that's the minimum.
yeah, I mean, I think that's good, but we would like to, you know, for the next 20 years, until those trees get to where they're performing environmentally the way that these existing trees are, we'd like to save as many of these as possible. I don't know what else the board may have to say.
I agree with that thought.
I do too, particularly speaking, well, as you said, this is what you do. But the investor is really what's calling the shot in terms of their desire for maximizing profit on the land. That's what we partially object to. As Danny said, you know, we live here. We want to drive by and look at something that's really attractive. We want to think about, even though it's not necessarily our business, how the residents feel in the apartment complex, where there's so much research going on now about the advantageous, you know, effects of trees in cities and everywhere else, parks, and it's just makes all the sense in the world, particularly to us. And so I thoroughly agree with that approach too. So I wonder if it's time to make a motion to that extent. Unless there's any more discussion, thoughts, Nathaniel?
Just a quick question. The apartment complex on Ingleside, what part of Ingleside is that located on? What section?
Not the Blue House, but if you come off of 26, you're on 78. and
Right.
Blue House Road is right there to your left.
Mhm.
You come up to the light.
Yep.
You take a left, it's that multi-tier product
Okay, yeah,
right there on the left.
gotcha.
Right before there, I think there's a light right there at Ingleside Medical Complex. We did a little dental office that's right there. That's Ted Strauss's office, but you'll see it when you come in the light and you're going down Ingleside Boulevard. It's the first multifamily right there on the left. It's a multi-tier.
Okay, and the name of it,
Mosby, Mosby.
okay,
And the one on Hamlet and Maybank Highway, the only two, I think it's 246 Maybank Highway. It's across from the library. But yeah, right before the library on Maybank Highway on downtown.
I think that we would also like to see a more complete picture of what the tree mitigation is going to look like, species and count.
Landscape plan.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
All right. I'll give it a try at the motion.
Yeah. You're gonna make, I'll make a motion that we defer judgment on accepting this application until we see the revised landscape, a landscape plan that shows the the final placement of trees, and we get a response from the investors on whether or not they're willing to give up some structure and be creative with their design.
I second that. Any more discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you for your time.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you,
An
John.
explanation.
You did good work with all of the iterations, and it's appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other items of business we need to speak of?
Move to adjourn.
Second? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.